There's a costly mistake that even careful high net worth retirees make when it comes to moving money between their IRAs, and it can turn what would be a simple transfer into a tax bill that you never intended to create. Now, it has to do with what we call the once per year rollover rule, and it doesn't work quite the way that most people might assume it would. You might think that if you have 3 or 4 different IRAs at 3 or 4 different custodians, that you could do a rollover from each one of those once per year. But that is not the way the rule works. And so in today's video, I want to talk about what the mistake is that people can make, how much that can cost, and then what you can do to make sure that you don't make that mistake yourself. Now, if we haven't met, my name is Liz Whittaberry, and I'm the founder of Best Path Advisors in Colleyville, Texas, and I help women and couples make the best decisions for their retirement. So in today's video, I want to talk about IRA rollovers. Now, the basic rule is that you can do one indirect rollover once per year. And an indirect rollover is where you receive a check payable to you, and then within 60 days, you turn around and put that money back into an IRA. That is called an indirect rollover, and you can do that once per year, no matter how many IRAs you own, one time for all IRAs. Now, the IRS actually considers your IRAs, no matter how many accounts it's broken into, to be just one IRA for you. And so it makes sense that this once per year rule is just one time for each 12-month period. And the 12-month period starts when you receive that distribution check. For the following 12 months, you cannot do another 60-day rollover from any of your IRAs. Now, here's where the mistake comes in. You might think that you could take multiple distributions. You want to take a distribution from IRA 1 and one from IRA 2 and one from IRA 3. Get those, combine it into one check to create one new IRA. That was just one rollover check going into a new IRA, so it seems like it's one rollover for the year. But that is not the way the IRS looks at it. They look at each distribution. So you've taken 3 distributions, a distribution from IRA 1, a distribution from IRA 2, a distribution from IRA 3. That would be 3 different rollovers. Now, conversely, if you had taken a distribution from IRA 1 and then put that into IRA 2 and IRA 3 and IRA 4, all within 60 days, that's perfectly fine because you just had one distribution coming out, you put it back in within 60 days. It's okay to put it back in more than one redeposit and in more than one account. But if you're taking money from existing IRAs, you can only take it from one IRA to go into a new IRA when you're using the indirect rollover approach. And that is what catches people because it might seem that if they're taking it all at the same time and putting it back in one check, it might seem like it's just one rollover when it is not just one rollover in the way that the IRS has defined the rules. Now, if you end up in violation of the rules, what happens? Well, that second distribution becomes a taxable distribution. Even if you have rolled it back into an IRA, it was not allowed to be rolled back into an IRA because it is violating this once per year rule, and so it becomes a taxable distribution. And you have to pay ordinary income tax on that. If you're under the age of 59 and a half, you would have a 10% tax penalty, but you also have to remove it from the IRA because it is now considered an excess contribution. And as long as it's in there, then you're going to have a 6% penalty for the excess contribution for each and every year until it gets removed. So this could become pretty costly and could end up having money that you can't have in an IRA that you intended to be in an IRA. Now, one workaround would be to consider a Roth conversion of that amount. And that would be an option that you could talk through with your financial advisor. And that's because the once per year rule does not apply to a IRA to Roth transfer. It also doesn't apply to a 401k to IRA transfer or a 403b to IRA transfer. And most importantly, it doesn't apply to a trustee to trustee transfer. So if you're trying to move money from 3 different IRAs to a new IRA, if you have the trustee of the existing IRA send the money directly to the trustee of the new IRA, no problem. You can do as many of those each year as you want to do. Now, last year I had a new client that was working on moving some money between a lot of different IRAs. And her thought was that she was going to just have each of these custodians send her a check. She was going to deposit it into her checking account, write one check to the new IRA, and that way she would be in control of making sure that the money came in, making sure that it went where she wanted. Now, the problem was that was going to violate this rule. As I explained before, having checks come from more than one account means it's more than one distribution, and that means it would be more than one rollover. So we talked through the problem, and she opted to have the custodians transfer each of those directly. And that prevented her from having any tax problem or any issues on making those transfers. Now, this is very important to know, and it would be good for you to share this with other people that could be benefited from this, as well as possibly your kids or your grandkids, as they begin to learn about these different IRA rules. They can get tricky at times, and so you want to make sure that everybody knows, how does this once per year rule really work, so that people don't end up with a tax bill that they didn't plan on, or having to take money out of the IRA world that they wanted it to still be in there. And so I hope that that is helpful information. If you have any questions, feel free to shoot me an email, liz@bestpathadvisors.com. And if you are curious about how I work with retirees to help them be on their best path, you can check me out at www.bestpathadvisors.com. And I look forward to seeing you in the next video.